The muddy water exploded upward as the massive golden retriever hit the surface, his 100-pound frame disappearing into the churning brown chaos that had consumed half the Kenyan Valley. Thunder cracked overhead as rain continued its relentless assault on the flooded landscape, turning what had been a peaceful wildlife corridor into a deadly trap. Somewhere in that violent current, a tiny voice cried out, a sound so small it should have been swallowed by the roar of the flood. But somehow it pierced through everything else. That voice belonged to a lion cub, barely 6 weeks old, swept away when the flash flood breached the conservation reserve's perimeter. The cub's pride had been crossing a shallow stream when the wall of water appeared without warning, a monster born from the storm that had dumped 2 months' worth of rain in just 4 hours. The adult lions had scrambled to safety on higher ground, but the smallest cub had been ripped from his mother's mouth by a wave that came from nowhere. Bruno, the golden retriever, had been patrolling the reserve with his handler, a conservationist named Patricia, who dedicated her life to protecting the animals in this sanctuary. At 8 years old, Bruno was a veteran rescue dog who had found lost hikers, located injured animals, and once tracked a poacher for 6 miles through dense bush. His cream-colored coat was now drenched and heavy, but his powerful swimmer's body cut through the water with determined strokes. Patricia stood helpless on what remained of the road, screaming Bruno's name into the storm. She had tried to grab his collar when he suddenly bolted toward the flood, but the big dog was too fast, too driven by an instinct she couldn't override. Now all she could do was watch her best friend disappear into the deadly current, chasing after a lion cub that probably wouldn't survive the next 60 seconds. The cub surfaced again, its golden fur plastered dark against its tiny skull, eyes wide with terror, mouth open in a silent scream as water filled its throat. Its little legs had stopped paddling, exhaustion was claiming it. The current dragged it toward a cluster of debris where shattered trees and twisted metal formed a deadly obstacle course. If the cub hit those jagged edges, it would be torn apart. Bruno saw the danger. His brown eyes, usually so soft and gentle, were hard with focus as he angled his body using the current instead of fighting it. He was a big dog, built strong with a broad chest and powerful shoulders that were made for swimming. His webbed paws pulled him through the water with remarkable speed as he closed the gap between himself and the dying cub. 15 feet, 10 feet, 5 feet. The debris loomed ahead, a wall of destruction that would kill them both if Bruno miscalculated. The cub went under one final time, its strength completely gone, surrendering to the water. Bruno took a massive breath and dove beneath the surface, his eyes open in the murky brown water, searching desperately for that small golden shape. His massive paw touched something soft. Bruno's jaws opened and closed around the cub's scruff, the same way a mother dog carries her puppies, the same way the cub's own mother had tried to carry it before the flood ripped them apart. The retriever's gentle mouth, bred for generations to carry birds without damaging them, held the precious life with perfect pressure, firm enough to maintain his grip, gentle enough not to hurt. Bruno kicked toward the surface, his lungs burning, but when he broke through, he had less than 3 seconds before the debris. He twisted his body with surprising agility for such a large dog, pushing off a floating log with his hind legs, redirecting their trajectory just enough to miss the twisted metal by inches. A sharp branch scraped his shoulder, drawing blood, but Bruno didn't even flinch. The current carried them another 100 yards downstream, away from Patricia's screaming voice, into unknown territory. But ahead, Bruno spotted something, a partially collapsed bridge with concrete pillars still standing strong against the flood. If he could reach one of those pillars, if he could just get them both out of the main current, they might survive. Every muscle in his body screamed for rest, but Bruno pushed harder. His legs churned the water, his neck straining to keep the cub's head above the surface as his own head dipped dangerously low. 70 yards, 50 yards. The pillar grew closer, a concrete island in the chaos. Bruno adjusted his angle one last time, using every bit of strength and swimming skill he possessed. His shoulder slammed into the pillar with jarring force, but he managed to hook one front leg around it, then the other. The current tried to rip him away, but Bruno held on, claws scraping against concrete, the cub still secure in his jaws. His muscles trembled with exhaustion, but he refused to let go. He pulled himself and the cub up onto a narrow ledge where the pillar met the collapsed bridge deck, finally escaping the water's deadly pull. Bruno gently laid the cub down on the concrete and immediately began licking its face and body with powerful strokes of his large tongue, stimulating circulation, clearing water from its nose and mouth. The cub lay motionless, its tiny ribcage still. Bruno whined, a heartbroken sound, and licked more frantically, his instincts screaming that he couldn't fail now, not after everything. Then the miracle happened. The cub coughed, a tiny sputtering sound, and water dribbled from its mouth. It gasped, drawing air into starved lungs, coughed again, and slowly opened its blue-gray eyes. The baby looked up at the massive golden face hovering over it, too exhausted and confused to be afraid. Bruno's tail wagged once, twice, then steadily as relief flooded through him. Patricia had commandeered a rescue boat the moment she saw where Bruno had gone. When she finally reached the pillar 20 minutes later, she found Bruno lying curved around the cub like a protective barrier, keeping the tiny lion warm with his body heat. The cub was nestled against Bruno's chest, actually purring, a sound baby lions make when they feel safe. The rescue team brought them both back to the conservation center, where veterinarians confirmed the cub would make a full recovery. Bruno received treatment for his shoulder wound and exhaustion, but he refused to leave the cub's warming pen. For 3 days, the big golden retriever stayed by the baby lion's side, watching over it like it was his own puppy. When the cub's mother, Tala, was finally brought to the center, handlers worried about her reaction to Bruno. Instead, the lioness approached the golden retriever calmly, sniffed him thoroughly, then did something extraordinary. She licked his face, a gesture of acceptance and gratitude. Bruno's tail wagged so hard his entire body shook. The cub, named Storm by the sanctuary staff, grew strong and healthy. As he got bigger, he and Bruno became inseparable during Bruno's visits to the sanctuary. Even as Storm matured into a powerful young lion, he would greet Bruno with gentle headbutts and would lie beside the aging dog for hours, the two of them napping in the sun. Predator and pet, bonded by a flood that tried to tear them apart, but instead brought them together. If this story of incredible bravery and unlikely friendship moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more amazing true stories that prove heroism has 4 legs and a wagging tail.